you mentioned that you're still considering buying, you still would buy today. That's sort of like the elephant in the room question that I get almost daily with the people I work with is, can you still buy in this market? Obviously we've had a lot of appreciation. It's super competitive. Does it still make sense to buy from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So we at the short-term shop, so we have agents in 11 markets that we work in, and the Smoky Mountains has it's historically been the most competitive market. But what I've seen lately is investors dismissing themselves because of the last 18 months worth of appreciation. So we'll post on our Facebook group, the day before we post something on the MLS, we'll say, oh, here's an off-market opportunity for you guys. And it'll get a ton of comments and people will say, oh man, that's a great deal. Oh man, that's going to go for 200 over asking. And they psych themselves out of even offering because they assume that it's going to be so many offers, and then we'll get one offer and they totally could have won it. So I think now is an interesting time because the market is changing a little bit. It has softened quite a lot. So it's easier to get deals now because the interest rate situation has kind of shaken out the weak hands of investors. So only the really serious people are kind of in the game now. So you're not getting those 20, 30, 40 offers on every single property in every single market anymore. So while, not every thing that hits the market is going to make sense, you now at least have a really good shot of, if it happens to be one that does make sense, you've got a good chance of getting it. Whereas before it was I'm not even going to bother. There's 20 other people in line. So it's a really good time to buy right now because a lot of people are a little freaked out with the interest rates. So as long as you run your numbers and they work, which there's still lots of areas where they do, then you're in good shape.
Got it. Okay. And when you have a new client call you and they say, I'm there's probably a lot of listeners on this podcast that fall in this category. They're like, I don't have any short-term rentals yet, but obviously I've heard a lot about it. It's, I want to get into this space. What are the first kind of steps that you recommend to a new client to take to be ready?
Well, you want to make sure that you get your financing in order first. We all listen to a ton of real estate investing podcasts. I've got a whole list of them in my phone and everybody does. And there's a lot of times people will hear stories from other investors that worked for them in another asset class in another period of time in history. So, 5 years ago, it was a different thing. And I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm going to get the deal first and find the money later. You can't really do that right now, especially in short term. There's always somebody who's ready to go. You really do have to have your money ready first. And it's really not difficult. You just go get, short term is the easiest thing in the world to finance. Financing an apartment building is hard. You have to find a bank that agrees with what you're doing, that thinks you're good enough to do it, and build a relationship. And then they give you this commercial financing. With short terms, it's single family residential. You can go get a conventional loan. It's super easy. So it's really easy to just go get that pre-approval to get ready to go. That's the number one thing. And then number two, I would say, familiarize yourself with analysis and with running the numbers on short-term rentals, because even though it's eased up a little bit in terms of being able to get deals, you still have to be able, you can't sit around and analyze for 3 or 4 days. When you see a deal, it's going to be gone. So learn how to do it so you can do it quickly when something hits the market that you like and that you think might be a good one, that you can do it really quick and make your offer.
Got it. Yeah. And a lot of people are curious which lenders to go to, because some lenders obviously are more and more getting more familiar with short-term rentals, but some still, aren't willing to lend on short-term rentals. Are there specific lenders that you direct people to?
Well, since you mentioned it, I do own a mortgage company called The Mortgage Shop.
Amongst other things.
Yeah. And we do specialize in that. So we've got a bunch of different products for that. But when you're shopping lenders, you really want to just make sure that you're using a lender who does the type of loan in the asset class that you're buying in the market that you are buying in often. So there's a lot of big nationwide online lenders that, they're doing lots and lots of advertising, and they're doing, you're going to get routed to some random loan officer working from home in some random state that probably does a lot of primary homes every day, but they might not be familiar with doing short-term rental beach houses in Destin, Florida, and they've never done that before, then there might be some things that they get tripped up on. So you want to find either a local bank, or if it's not local, just a bank that, or a mortgage broker that has done a lot of deals in that market, because they don't have to be local to have done it before. There's plenty of, work from home virtual banks now. So just make sure whatever bank you use, that you're using one that is familiar with that type of deal. And if it's a bank or a mortgage broker that's like advertising super low interest rates that are really like way out of line with everything else you've seen, that's probably something you want to check into a little bit further, because they're making their money somewhere. Everybody's rates are going to be really, really similar. So if it's wildly low, that's something that I might avoid.